Hey English 101, I'm back with another video. This video is a tutorial for our reader response, which is what we're doing on discussion board. Now, many of you guys may have already done the Thoreau sample reader response, and this goes back over what I'm expecting out of the posts on discussion board. Now, after that, I'm going to go over what I'm expecting out of the replies to others' posts. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. When it comes to reader response, I'm expecting you to do three things. The first thing is to read the assigned text critically. The second thing is to draft a response. And the third thing is to respond to others' posts. So, the first thing that we cover is reading the assigned text critically, or as I'll call in this class, critical reading. Here's what it means. It means reading closely, attempting to develop your own understanding of the subject. And to read close, sometimes you have to read multiple times to make sure you understand it. To do this, sometimes we want to underline or highlight important parts of the text. Remember, in reader response, you have to use a quote or paraphrase the section on the text. So underlining and highlighting will help you remember what areas of the text you might want to use. Annotating is writing in notes at the margins. So if you're someone who likes to write in notes in the margins and write your comments on it, that might help in actually doing your reaction part of the post. So before we actually sit down and read, some things we need to consider and look for are the writing context, which we know in class is subject, audience, and purpose. As a reminder, subject, what is this piece about? Audience, who was it written for? Consider the tone the author takes and the time in which it was written. So remember our discussion of the Thoreau being written in the early 1800s? It changed the way we looked at his approach to journal keeping a little. Last, we have our purpose. Why do you think the author wrote this? So when it comes to our first reader response, which is Why Leaves Change Color in the Fall by Diane Ackerman, you might want to ask, okay, who is the author? You might do a little bit of light informal research on the author's history and particularly on the subject that she's writing about. So a quick Google of Diane Ackerman might enlighten you a little bit on other things she's written as well as some more analysis of our actual piece. So we've read. After we read, we want to reflect upon the reading and our notes. Some questions you might ask yourself before writing your response. Do you see a progression of ideas or the development of an argument? Is there a main theme that the author is trying to get across? Could you break this down into a series of main points? Is one of those main points, does it particularly resonate with you? And is there a particular quote or passage that sticks out to you, one that seems to embody the main ideas of the piece? Again, be sure to be looking for those things, underline, highlight, so you can have an easy time pulling out something to quote or finding a passage to paraphrase. So when we're ready to draft a response, always consider the guide questions that I provide. For the very first reader response, which is the Ackerman one, here's what they are. Feel free to pause the video for a second if you'd like to take a moment to read the questions. If not, let's keep on going. So when drafting a response, here's what we should aim for. About 3 to 5 sentences. Be sure to give me proper spelling, grammar, and sentence structure. This is supposed to be practice for essay writing, which means I need to see it in paragraph form. Always include a quote or a paraphrase section, and our goal is to provide an informed response to the text. So you might be asking, what does he mean by informed response? So what I mean is an informed response shows an understanding of the question or questions that are asked. It shows an engagement with the text, and then it shows a reaction to the text. So how do we make a response informed? So how do we do this? Well, to show that we understand the question, you might want to generally restate the question and briefly provide the answer to that question. To show engagement with the text, that's when we want to provide a quote or paraphrasing that supports those answers. Then to show a reaction to the text, we want to explain how that quote or paraphrasing supports your conclusions. We want to show what exactly we think about the ideas the author puts forward. So that's how we make a response informed. Here's an example. Feel free to pause the video if you'd like to take a moment to read the sample. If not, we'll go ahead and move on. Here is how I would like the sample formatted. It's in one big block paragraph like this, as opposed to the 1, 2, 3 of the previous. And then you'll want to post it on discussion board. You want to find the correct forum, which for this is Reader Response 1, Ackerman, and then click Create Thread and put your post in there. So now we want to figure out how we're going to respond to others' posts. Okay, and remember, the goal of Reader Response is to create a conversation about the topic. And to do this, we want to respond to others' posts to further the conversation on the essay outside of class. Who do we respond to? Well, we can respond to posts that we agree or disagree with, all right? You can respond to posts that use the same quote or section of the text. You can respond to posts that pique your interest. Really, there's a wide range of posts that you can respond to, including everyone's. So should I move on if there's already a response? No. Feel free to respond to even more responses. This is how good conversations get started. I would like to see everyone to at least have one response to another's post for each of our reader responses, all right? Just one, but certainly you're not limited to that. So when we write the response, you want to offer about 1 to 2 sentences in response. This could be your opinion in reaction. No restating or quoting is necessary, but also be sure to use proper spelling, grammar, and sentence structure. Again, this is practice for essay writing. I have an example right here of a response to our sample post of the acronym. Feel free to pause the video if you'd like to read the response. If not, let's go ahead and move on. To post this, be sure to select reply under the student's post that you wish to respond to, and then post that response. Again, to summarize, there are 3 parts of reader response that we want to consider. The first thing is reading the assigned text critically, and we know that means before and after reading. Critical reading isn't just when you're staring at the words on the page. It happens before, it happens during, and it happens after reading. Then we want to draft a response, particularly an informed response. Last, we want to respond to others' posts, creating a conversation, which is the goal. We want to form a variety of discussions on this topic